I ain't gonna lie. I've been holding a lot of shit in lately. Man, I just had like a 3.5 hour cry.
What do I owe the pleasure? What do I owe the pleasure? The last time we been together, we wash your car for you. We wash your car with no shame in our hustle. When you goddamn getting it to that wash, and you know that tip gonna be good like it's goddamn this cold. Y'all better stop buying this slippery soap, man. What's going on there?
The streets have been buzzing, but no one anticipated this. 50 Cent recently released some tapes that show Rick Ross looking like he's going to lose it. This isn't your typical hip-hop feud, and we have the whole story on how these tapes about Ross were leaked online. Trust me, once you hear what's on them, you'll see why Ross is prepared to destroy the entire industry. 50 Cent's chess move was a legendary mess.
Bruh, just like New York, just like Mount Vernon, New York City, Mount Vernon, and Miami, all that is the same, bruh. Nobody wants to be near him. Nobody wants to touch what he touched, be where he at. You understand? It's crazy, bruh, how his fall from grace, which was never from grace. It's just like the devil just kicked him out of hell, because he was never in nothing graceful and did anything graceful. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what you say about, okay, he did the music, he had the bad boy legacy and everything like that, man. But, you know, a few albums, a few people, you know, made to be famous, but they not here to tell their story. Black Rob, Biggie, Craig Mack. They not here to tell their story, bro. And now you got everybody telling his story.
Yeah, and I know 50, he did a recent interview with US Weekly saying that the reason why rappers are quiet about, Diddy's situation is because they've been to his parties and they don't know what got caught on tape.
Bruh, those people who was caught at Diddy party did not know that he had 250 tape recorders in that house. That's a big house.
Let me tell you, girl, that 50 Cent has been playing the longest game in hip-hop history with this one. Back in 2009, when Ross first showed up at 50 with that Officer Ricky mess, everyone assumed it was just another rap feud, but 50 was thinking much bigger than that. You see, while Ross was out there claiming to have won their little back and forth, 50-50 was moving covertly like a snake in the grass, gathering receipts and establishing relationships whenever Ross posted something showing off his wings. Stop collecting money or cars. 50A would just wait and observe. He was now collecting ammunition, which is how 50 planned this takedown, and he was no longer reacting to the minor jabs. He was a pure evil genius for waiting until Ross was talking about his latest business ventures and advertising his new Checkers franchise on social media. If you were watching 50's Instagram the week before, you could see that he was setting everything up. He started posting cryptic messages about how some people aren't who they pretend to be, and then he threw up that post saying, "Tick, tick, tick, time's running out for some folks." No one knew what he was talking about, but the streets were watching, and then, on a typical Tuesday afternoon when everyone was going about their daily lives, 50 hits the gram with that first tape. No build-up, just straight destruction. The way he did it was cold, too. He didn't even put a caption. He let the footage speak for itself. Within minutes, the entire industry was exploding.
But he had 250 tape recorders in that house that they took, that the feds found. So now with them finding all that and you being at a Diddy party, you know you may have done something that was caught on one of those tapes. You just better pray to God that they don't recognize you. Those people who know that they did something, no, they're not going to speak out. They're not going to say nothing. What part of the game is that? They are not going to come forward and tell on themselves. Nah, not at all. Ice Cube, he said it himself, bro. He said that Diddy's been targeted because of what he said about those folks and those people. Now, the people who was on those tapes may feel like Diddy might be targeting them. Because if he's asked about who is this, who is that, and he's under oath with the federal government, he got to tell them. He's not going to plead the fifth.
Yeah, I know that got to be a terrible feeling, man. You know you did something wrong at Diddy party, and you hoping and praying that it's not caught on tape.
But they don't think they did nothing wrong. That's their lifestyle. That's their lifestyle, bro. I ask guys all the time, if two men lay down, how many homos get up? What you mean? I mean what I mean. It's what it is.
The reaction started pouring, and immediately you had industry executives calling emergency meetings, PR teams scrambling to get ahead of the story, and everybody who ever worked with Ross or Diddy suddenly going ghost. This wasn't like when rappers dropped his tracks or expose old DMS. This was different. The level of calculation that went into this 50 had literally been watching and waiting for years to catch Ross at his highest point, just to bring him down lower than ever. What made it even crazier was how Ross didn't even know what hit him at first. Word is he was in the middle of a business meeting when his phone started blowing up. His team was trying to reach him. Everybody was sending him the video, and he thought it was just another 50 Cent joke. But when he finally saw what 50 actually leaked, baby, that's when everything changed. And listen, if you thought that first tape was bad, the streets are saying 50's got way more where that came from. He's been sitting on this stuff for years, just waiting for the perfect moment to release it. The way he orchestrated this whole thing, it's like he wrote a whole revenge movie and made Ross the star without him even knowing it. But what Ross didn't know was that first tape was just the beginning. The real question everybody was asking, what else does 50i have in his vault? Cause if he waited 14 years to drop this bomb, there's no telling what other footage he's been holding on to.
Doesn't mean I'm confirming or I'm 100% factual, but it's somebody in this story of things that seems more reliable than others, Race, is what I'll say it, just to protect my sources. But this source informed me of who these A-list celebrities are on these tapes that are being allegedly auctioned off online and through the networks. And it's put me in a little bit of a bind because I like to be fully transparent with the audience. I want to say things, but I also realize from what I'm told, because again, I haven't seen them directly yet. I haven't, and I don't know if I want to. Race, I want your advice on that too. But the problem I have is just like, typically I want to report these things, but I got to be careful legally, ethically, morally as to what we report on here. Because as Ariel, the lawyer here, did admit, and I can attest based on the information I got from a separate, reliable source, people in these videos don't know they're being videotaped. That's a big issue, Race, right? Let's start out right there. If there are people on these tapes that don't know that they were being filmed, is that okay to talk about and to share?
I have a big problem with that, as do you, Andy. And you tend to be an ethical guy, and you're taking the high ground here. Notwithstanding the fact that you may have some significant information and reliable information, but the reality is that, look, I mean, if people were recorded non-consensually and you're the one to identify them, I think that's a problem, right? And I think anytime anyone has content, right, this is not an email, this is not a text message, this is video. Right. And there's specific statutes, without using specific language I don't want to get into, but everybody knows what we're talking about here.
It's Diddy with this person. I'll say that. It's Diddy with this person. Actually, yes.
Yeah. And see, the problem is, again, like non-consensually recorded, you've got a victim here who may not want to be publicly identified. That's the problem. That's the problem. And they have a right to proceed if they want to, whether it's criminally or civilly, without being identified, because we know what's going to happen. As soon as they identify themselves, there's going to be a bunch of people that come out of the woodwork who are going to unequivocally harass them and claim that didn't happen, and they're making stuff up. And there's the victims that we want to protect here, and that's significant.
Well, it's interesting because here's why I wanted to have this conversation, because I know a lot of you are like, Andy, just say it. No, I'm not going to say them, but I wanted to have this conversation as to why we're not saying it and why I think others haven't yet said it, raised, because again, legally, ethically, morally, it's just not right. Now, there's an argument I've had with people who are like, well, they knew what they were doing with Diddy. Like these were consensual acts. Like they knew, and he filmed other times. So I don't know what the big deal is. It's going to come out. It's going to come out is what I keep hearing from other reliable sources. It may come out, but it's not going to come out via me. That's just to warn you all, because I don't think it's wise for us to put out something like you just confirmed it without the consent of the other person in the video. Because again, from what I'm gathering based on some of these tapes, and again, we're still learning more and I haven't seen them with my own eyes.
Remember how Ross repeatedly vowed never to do business with particular individuals? That's why these tapes are so combustible, because, darling, the receipts don't lie. Ross was caught in 4K by 50 Cent doing exactly what he has been denying for years. 50 Drop shows Ross in some real compromising situations with Diddy, and we're not talking about innocent business meetings. We've seen Ross at private parties acting real friendly with people he claimed he never even met. But the worst part, there's audio of Ross talking about deals that went down behind closed doors, deals he's been denying for years. In one clip, Ross is straight up bragging about how he set up these special arrangements with upcoming artists. The way he's talking about it so casually has people thinking this wasn't a one-time thing. Industry veterans who've seen the footage are saying it's the kind of stuff that could get somebody blackballed from the music business for good. What's really got everybody shook is how these tapes connect back to those old rumors about Ross's early days in the industry. You know, all those stories he's been shutting down about how he really got his start. Well, these videos are painting a whole different picture. We're seeing Ross getting real comfortable with some characters he swore he never dealt with, talking about business moves he claimed never happened.
Isn't it weird that the government was so interested in Diddy's baby oil that they took 1,000 bottles away from his house? If the government took 1,000 bottles of baby oil and somebody had things what appeared to be baby oil, and then you have to listen to the prosecutor. He said that they seized 1,000 bottles what allegedly to be baby oil. Allegedly to be baby oil. So that's telling people that it wasn't baby oil. And people think that that was baby oil, they out their mind. I don't believe it was baby oil. Yo, bro, when they went up in there, they knew what they was going to find. They knew what was ever in that baby oil or that those bottles that appeared to be baby oil, they knew about that at first. You got to realize 9 times out of 10, that individual that got caught at the airport, that was supposed to be their carrier, told them what they was doing and what they had. I wouldn't put him past that he told them everything. So when they went up in there, they knew they had to take whatever was out there, and that thing that appeared to be baby oil, they took that. They got to test every last one of them. Let's see how much, let's see how many of those come back to be baby oil. Bro, listen to me. Costco don't sell that much baby oil. Where you know sell that much baby oil?
Yeah, I don't know any store that sell that much baby oil. I know Costco, they came out and said that they don't even sell baby oil.
My sentiments exactly.
But you personally, right, what do you believe was in the baby oil?
If you ever seen a massage parlor being raided and they walking out the people, do they take the massage oil with them when they go? No, they just walk out the people who are being arrested.
The industry's internal responses have been crazy. Seeing these tapes was like seeing someone's entire career according to an executive who wishes to remain nameless because they are still involved in the game. This isn't your typical R beef where someone exposes an old DMS or drops a diss track. These tapes made Ross and Diddy look really suspicious, especially with all the other allegations circulating lately. The timing couldn't be worse, as Ross is attempting to grow his business empire and Diddy is dealing with his own drama. Another source close to Ross's label said they had to call emergency meetings because they didn't know how many more bombs 50 was about to drop. Ross is concerned about how these videos might impact everything he has created, including the Wingstop franchises, the new Checkers agreement, and all of those brand partnerships. Corporate America becomes quite anxious about having their name next to yours after they witness you involved in something similar. But the true anxiety arises from the knowledge that 50 is holding onto more footage each time Ross tries to refute or justify something. When we got back to Ross about what was actually on those tapes, things started to get heated because it's one thing to hear people talking about what they saw, but it's another to know that there's video evidence out there showing exactly what you've been trying to keep quiet. The way Ross responded, baby, was when everything went from bad to worse. 50 hits back with another clip that makes Ross look even worse. It's like 50 had cameras following Ross for years just waiting for the right moment to start dropping bombs.
If you ever seen a person getting arrested and the people being arrested in those brothel houses, do they take out the stuff in the brothel houses? No, they don't. They take the individuals who are being arrested out the brothel houses. For them to take 1,000 bottles of baby oil, it's like that they did not leave one. They left people there, but they ain't leave not one bottle. Nobody needed no baby oil. So my whole thing about it is that there was something in that other than baby oil. That's why they took all the bottles. And 9 times out of 10, if I would give it a wild guess, it was, and like some of the people told me, it was probably that GHB.
What's that?
I think it's gamma hydrox. I looked it up, bro. Let me see. See if I can find it. I know this is just showing everything like that, but oh no. Let me. Yo, somebody tap dance or sing or do something, you know what I'm saying, while I'm doing this. Oh, here it go right here. It's gamma hydroxy butyric. What is it effect on the body? It's a euphoria, drowsiness, decreased anxiety, and memory impairment. It works on the nervous system and gives you this feeling of euphoria. So they take that and rubbed it on her, and you forget who you are, what you're doing. It can also give you memory loss, drowsiness, and that's under the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration.gov.
Nobody was prepared for what they witnessed when the notifications began to blast up everyone's phones at 2 a.m. Ross wasn't just angry, he was getting burned. Earth-seasoned public relations specialists were texting one another as if someone needed to stop him before he destroyed everything. Ross's first response was a 15-minute tirade full of accusations and threats that sent his own team into a panic. He wasn't even attempting to deny what was in those tapes anymore. Instead, he was outright threatening the lives of 50 people. The way he was pacing back and forth in that video, looking like he hadn't slept in days, left people wondering if he had finally lost it. Every hour brought a new explosion, starting with the voice messages he began sending to everyone who shared the video, threatening lawsuits, making outrageous accusations, and even bringing up old information that nobody was supposed to know about. His team was attempting to contain the damage, but Ross wasn't hearing any of that. He was on Instagram live at 3:00 a.m. Things got really nasty when people started pointing fingers, disclosing trade secrets, and making threats you can't retract. Our PA team was sending out statements to try to clean up the mess when Ross started dropping addresses, not just 50's well-known locations, but also places where his family stays. However, Ross would quickly get back online and erase all of their work, and even his closest business partners called to beg him to log off before he destroyed all the bridges he had ever built.
Activities with other, A-listers having activities together is what this is. And again, that's a potentially outing of somebody as well. You know what I mean? There's so many things here that happen in releasing of this private consensual moment that while salaciously everybody wants to know, and people are messaging me all the time, Andy, who's what? And it's like, I'm not going to say, because there seem to be way too many things that these people in the tapes, whether consensual, whether they, whatever, didn't agree to put out there. And I would think that's a legal issue too for anybody who puts these out first, no?
Yeah, you nailed it. You can't without the consent of the victim. That's the problem. Somebody thinks that somebody has no idea, right? You said, well, didn't they know they're being recorded? No. I mean, in these situations, the assumption is they did not know. And that's what we believe right now is the victims did not know that they were being recorded. If the victim comes out and says, okay, yes, I knew I was recorded, and a statement is provided, that's a different story. But of course, you don't know that. So you, Andy, probably can't be the one to break that ice and be like, well, this is what I heard and this is what I know, and so I'm going to say it. And there's all kinds of hairy legal issues on that, right? With privacy and intrusion on seclusion is what we call it. It's a privacy violation. There could be defamation implications. There could be criminal implications. So you're doing the right thing by treading carefully. And I think more people should do this rather than get into speculation. Now, if you see the videos, even still, right? If somebody takes...
Not to interrupt, but that's the question. Like, am I allowed to see these videos? Like, if I were to ask this source, show me the videos, do I put myself in worse legal jeopardy?
That's another distinct legal issue, right? It's like you're watching something that someone didn't know they were being recorded of doing, right? And so... it's dicey. It's dicey. Now, it would be different if you were an attorney and somebody's coming to you for purposes of defense or prosecution of a claim, a civil claim, or the filing, of some action to recover damages. That's a little different. But for purposes of, hey, look what I got, juicy gossip, and there are reporting outlets that I won't mention that will do stuff like this. I don't know that it's the smartest thing to do. I don't know that it's the careful thing to do. That's for sure. Or it's the ethical or moral thing to do.
Yeah, it is exactly. I'm not a lawyer, but maybe this source will show you, and then you can verify what we know. But here's the other problem. Even if we verify what we know, like as I watched what Ariel, the lawyer, got these tapes, and even again, I don't want to get into the details, any remote details that could help explain or allude to even more of theories that are out there, or debunk or confirm. But I will say, hearing what I heard, which again isn't confirmation, but hearing what I heard, it makes me dislike what Ariel's doing even more, because I think there are going to be people out there, if this information does get out in some way, that are going to deny that these people are victims, that they're going to try to say, oh no, they're just consensually thing and they were hiding this affair and yada, yada, yada. And I don't see it that way personally. I mean, and granted, I haven't seen or know, like this isn't somebody involved from what I've gathered in these tapes of them, doing it to others in a way, criminally, like we've heard in some of these suits. This is just, it almost feels like, again, if it's real, like blackmail material that Diddy keeps to sort of hold over these people's heads. And to me, that's awful to the people in it, whether they agreed or knew or whatever. It still just feels like that's no one's freaking business. And maybe they were doing it for reasons we don't know. Just because we saw it in the tape doesn't mean they weren't feeling pressured in other ways, right? So it's a heavy and complicated thing, but it's not a hard decision to say, I can't run with trying to even allude to who these people are.
Ross's desperate move seems to have started quickly after that. His team attempted to have the tapes removed using copyright claims, but 50 had already shared them widely. Ross then began offering money to anyone who could help him find the person who had helped 50 obtain the footage. He was flinging numbers that made people's eyes pop and talking millions of dollars to figure out who had been recording him. By the time the sun rose, Ross had already broken about 6 different Instagram policies and had his account restricted 3 times, but instead of slowing down, he continued creating new burner accounts. The industry began dividing into teams when Ross began bringing up the names of other artists in his posts. People who hadn't paid for verses, who had been lying about their streaming numbers, and who had secret deals that they didn't want public all lost their business because Ross was irresponsible with each post. Others tried to defend Ross by saying that 50 went too far, But Ross's actions made it extremely difficult for anyone to stand with him because when someone starts threatening families and revealing everyone's secrets, people have to choose a side. And those sides were about to shock everyone.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, let's let this play out in the legal realm. If you ever get Ariel on your show, I'd love to talk with her and have this conversation if she's willing to do it publicly, because I still don't understand what her role is in all this. And I've heard at times broker, I've heard at times advocate for victim. And I don't want to judge what she's doing or not doing. I'd love to just have a conversation about it because I personally don't get it, right? This is a very sensitive thing. Again, if this gets turned over to the feds and the feds bring claims and this is outed, that's a totally different story. But the feds do what they're going to do. Like what we talked about months ago on your show, right? When this first went down, we knew when hard drives were seized and things happened that, look, they're going to build a case. They're going to build a case that they think they can prosecute. It's not for us to speculate what's there or what's not. But to say, you have tangible evidence of something on camera that you've seen and that it's being sold in order to protect someone.
To avoid being publicly named, which is what even the lawyers are now admitting. It all feels really dirty and shady, man.
The only person that makes sense that could buy this is the victim, right? If the victim says, I don't want this to come out. Yes, it was consensual, but I don't want it to come out. I didn't know I was being recorded. Give it to that person.
Right, I guess, but you're right, because then they can actually own it. Maybe there is a version of this, so that's what Ariel's trying to allude to. You'll own it, and no other network's going to be able to buy it or show it if you own it and haven't given permission. I guess, is that maybe part of what they're trying to do here, in that the celebrity who buys it can actually then control it just from a clearance standpoint?
Yeah, it still raises some legal concerns, right? Because let me say it this way. If this was a transaction, if this is a business transaction wherein the victim is then acquiring the exclusive rights to this tape or tapes, and that the person who recorded it is avowing that they will not use it, I don't know where that leaves P. Diddy and the feds, right? But they have an independent right to bring this stuff to light if it gets prosecuted. But my point is, if you're transferring legal rights of this consensual or non-consensually recorded tape to the victim, I think that's a better position to be in. But then the question is this person even in a position to be able to buy the tape, right? Are they a high-level celebrity? Like, who are they? We can assume that they're celebrities with millions and millions of dollars to expend on something like this. Just raises a lot of questions, right?
Everyone was in shock at the way these artists were taking sides. Some of Ross's closest friends were suddenly acting as though they had never known him, while people they didn't expect were cheering him on. You know how they say that true friends turn up when you're in trouble? The divide hit different when Meek Mill, who used to be signed to Ross's MMG labels, started liking all of 50's posts about the situation. That's when people realized this wasn't just about picking teams anymore. This was about survival. You had artists quietly unfollowing Ross, removing their collabs from streaming playlists, and even canceling scheduled studio sessions. The real gag was seeing who jumped on 50's sidekick DJ Called, who built his whole career on We, the Best, and loyalty, suddenly went ghost mode when reporters started asking about Ross. Meanwhile, French Montana, who everybody thought would stick with Ross, started posting these subliminal messages about karma and living your truth. The streets noticed real quick how those SAC deals and Diddy connections had everybody moving scared. Then you got the new generation taking sides too. Future dropped a story with him bumping 50's Many Men right when all this was popping off, and everybody knew what that meant. Even Drake, who usually stays out of this type of mess, posted a cryptic caption about your real day. Ones never switch up when it's cloudy. Nobody knew if he was supporting or shading Ross, but that post alone had the industry chattering for days. Thanks for watching.